Welcome to Ayurveda and Spirituality with your host, Alakananda Ma, a renowned Ayurvedic expert and a graduate of a top London medical school. She is the principal of Alundi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style school in Boulder, Colorado. She is a spiritual mother, teacher, flower essence maker, and storyteller. Join us as we uncover the timeless principles of Ayurveda, discover practical tips for enhancing vitality, and explore the deeper dimensions of spirituality that intertwine with the ancient science of life.
Namaste. Welcome everyone to the second podcast in Ayurveda and Spirituality with me, Alakananda Ma. And as they used to say on the BBC Children's Hour when I was little, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. So we're going to be talking about time, and we're going to be talking about how did we get into the mess that we're in right now. So we all know that we go through a year that has 12 months and that there's a different zodiac sign for each of the 12 months of the year. We're going to think now about a much bigger year that's brought around by the sun's journey around the galactic center. That's the great year, which takes about 24,000 years. And so it's divided into 12 2,000-year ages, approximately, roughly, and schematically. And in each of those 2,000-year periods, a different zodiac sign is present in the sky at the time of the spring equinox. So we're all familiar with, in our tropical zodiac that we use in Western astrology, that Aries begins at the spring equinox. Well, at the time that all the calendars were being set up, it was the age of Aries and everything fitted together perfectly. So there are 12 ages, and each one is archetypally dominated by one sign of the zodiac, and it's dominated by that zodiac sign because that's the sign that is in the sky at the spring equinox. We're not going to think about all of these 12 ages because some of them are very, very mythological or kind of made up in our heads. We're going to be using a Kabbalistic 4 ages model. And that's going to comprise our prehistory in the age of in the age of Taurus, our prehistory in the age of Taurus, then the age of Aries, the age of Pisces, and what is to come, the age of Aquarius. That really comprises our prehistory, our history, and our future. So we're going to be stepping back 2,000, 4,000, actually 6,000 years. So 6 to 4,000 years ago, schematically, this is the age of Taurus. So this age is dominated by the archetype of Taurus, the bull. And the bull at this time is sacred because the bull commands all the fertility. It's only the bull that can pull the plow so that the fields can be planted, can be fertile. The bull also produces the manure to fertilize the fields, and it's due to the bull that the cows have babies and give milk. And the cities in the age of Taurus were great civilizations were founded on sacred dairies. So the great achievement of the age of Taurus is actually food security, which now with climate change, we are throwing away. We're in the throes between climate change, genetic engineering, monoagriculture, and species extinction. We are almost getting rid of the great achievement of the age of Taurus. In the age of Taurus, the gods are animals, the bull, yes, and the cow, the lion. They're animal forms of gods. And if I'm a lion, what might I want to eat? I might want to have a nice person to eat up. So the sacrifice that's offered in the age of Taurus is human sacrifice. Because maybe if we sacrifice one designated person to the gods, they won't eat other people. So in this time of history, the gods are animals and our worship is human sacrifice. Well, we might think that's horrible, but that's because we have individual consciousness. In the time of the age of Taurus, when our psyche is more undifferentiated, human sacrifice is seen in a different way. In fact, even until quite recently, the Aztecs competed vigorously to win the ball game, knowing if they won, they'd get the greatest honor being sacrificed. They weren't trying to escape to Canada to get out of the ball game. They were competing. So clearly, being a sacrifice was seen in a different way in the age of Taurus. We're talking about the mother as well as about the ages. And the age of Taurus is the age of the great mother. She is the one who brings forth and she's the one who devours. Actually, the great saint of Calcutta lived in Calcutta in the 19th century. Sri Ramakrishna had a vision in which he saw a mother who gave birth, brought forth her children, and devoured them. It's this bringing forth and devouring. That's what the Great Mother does. It's a cycle of coming forth, being created, and being devoured. And when life is devoured, another life can come into being. So the ants feed on the dead spider, and the birds feed on the ants, and so it goes on. Everything that lives and grows feeds upon what falls and dies. Everything is cycling around. Who do we worship in the age of Taurus? We still have some of them. The terracotta figurines of the mother with great breasts and a great belly. She doesn't look like a supermodel. She has big hanging breasts and a great big belly, and she is very fecund, and she is very nurturing. And all of the symbols of the age of Taurus, the moon is exalted in Taurus. We have all the lunar cyclical feminine symbols. The moon, which monthly changes in its circle course, as Shakespeare says. The serpent or the snake, which grows by shedding its skin. These are all the sacred symbols of the mother, the sacred symbols of the age of Taurus. About 4,000 years ago, the paradigm comes to a close and we emerge into the next age, the age of Aries. To put it very simplistically, we might say the two hemispheres of our planet are like the two sides of our brain. So the east is like the right hemisphere, the west is like the left hemisphere. So there have actually been two different ways in which we handle this shift from the age of Taurus, the age of the Great Mother, into the age of Aries. In the East, when we end one paradigm and begin another, it's like making a pillar. Here's the age of Taurus at the base, then we're going to take another layer and put it on top. Sadananda and I have visited great temples in India where you have the animal gods around the base, and then you have the human beings, and then you have the divine gods, and it's all piled on top of each other. So in the East, we don't drop the age of Taurus, we just graft the age of Aries on top of it. But from the Middle East to the West, we've taken a different approach. Out with the old, in with the new. Throw out the bathwater and the baby too. This is exactly what we did 4,000 years ago. This is why we're in the mess that we're in right now. We made 4,000 years ago, we made a drastic break with the mother. And because we broke with her in such a drastic way, all the aspects of the mother have become distorted and disordered. Because when we got rid of the mother, we threw all of those aspects of ourselves down into the shadow, down into the unconscious. So this includes love, sexuality, intimacy, money, abundance, women, the earth herself. We relate to all of these things in a very unhealthy way because of the dramatic break we've made with the mother. So in subsequent talks, we're going to take out each of these aspects and look at it. It's told, and not in the Torah, but in the Talmud, it's told that Abraham's really the kind of the symbol of this shift from the age of Taurus to the age of Aries. It's told he was the son of an idol maker. And then he had this incredible intuition of the oneness of God. And dazzled by this intuition, he came in fury into his father's idol shop, and he smashed all the idols, and he left, and he took off for a new land. And we can picture or imagine in this story, which isn't a story from the Torah, but a legend, we can picture that he was smashing these terracotta figurines of the mother, and that we're going to need over the course of time to examine each of these pieces so that we can put something together, not the old thing, but something new together. We don't want to go back to the old thing because we don't want to have to go back to sacrificing our firstborn children into the jaws of Moloch. It was a bad plan. But we also want to get out of the mess we got into by crushing the mother. So in comes the age of Aries. It's the age of Mars, the god of war. It's the age governed by the ram. And it's a masculine age. It's the age of the father. Now, it's not that this is a bad thing. We needed to make that shift. We just made it in such a drastic way. And here are a couple of Bible stories that point to how drastically we made the shift. One is the story in Genesis where Adam and Eve eat the forbidden fruit. And when God comes and said, "Why did you eat the fruit I told you not to eat?" Adam says, "It's her fault. She gave it to me, so I ate it." And Eve says, "It's his fault," pointing to the serpent. He tempted me. That's what happened. And the reply is a curse. The curse to Adam is, "In the sweat of your brow will you eat bread. You will till the land, and it will yield thorns and thistles." We're coming into the age of agriculture. And the curse of the woman is in pain you will bear children, which has always fascinated me. Was childbirth not painful in very ancient times? And the curse of the serpent is the seed of woman shall crush the serpent's head. So we see the mother crushing the serpent's head or standing on the serpent, whichever way we choose to visualize that. But bad things are happening to her symbol, the serpent. And the other story is the story of the sacrifice of Isaac. It's been very hard for Abraham to have a son. He only has a son with his wife Sarah when when Sarah's old, past the age of having children. She has a good laugh about the idea that she'll have a child, but she has a child. But he is the firstborn. And for as long as anyone can remember, for 2,000 years schematically, the first to open the womb must be sacrificed. So Abraham and Isaac set off up the mountain, and Isaac is carrying the wood for the sacrifice, and they're toiling up the mountain, and Isaac's getting a bit scared, and he says, but we're going to make a sacrifice, but who's going to be sacrificed? They get up to the top of the mountain. The firstborn son, the precious baby, who should have never even been born, is laid on the altar, and Abraham raises the knife to do what everyone has done for as long as anyone can remember. And as he holds the knife up, he realizes, I don't have to do this. I don't have to sacrifice my son. And he looks around and he sees a ram caught in the thicket, and he says, here, son, help me get the ram. We're going to sacrifice the ram. I don't have to sacrifice my son. So this story really lets us know that it's a good thing that we came into the age of Aries and stopped having to do human sacrifices. Animal sacrifice is now going to replace human sacrifice as the form of worship in the age of Aries. The gods start to be very much like us, families, with the father, who's the main one, and his wife, the great mother, has now become a consort. All the forms of the great mother become wives and consorts. Juno becomes the wife of Jupiter, the sky father. The gods are seen as families, father, mother, children. But the only one who really matters is the father. So here we are in the age of Aries. We've got families of gods, and we're doing animal sacrifices. The woman is cursed with the pains of childbirth. But we've got ourselves into a mess, not because we changed paradigms. It had to change. It was the flow of time for it to change, not because we've changed paradigms, but because we changed paradigms in such an abrupt way. Well, about 2,500 years ago, we went through our single most important spiritual and cultural evolution. This was far more important than splitting the atom or the invention of the printing press or anything else we can possibly think of. This is the axial age, and it's the time of the Buddha. It's the time of the Upanishadic rishis, who were the sages of ancient India. And it's the time of the Hebrew prophets. At this point, we have an amazing revelation. I have an inside. I have an interior. It might sound commonplace to us now that we have mysticism, depth psychology. It was a completely new thing. Religion was this external act of performing sacrifices, and suddenly the prophets come and say, God doesn't want the blood of bulls and goats. He wants your humble and contrite heart, your interior. wow, prayer becomes a matter not of sacrifices, but of the heart. So it's 500 years before the age of Pisces actually dawns. But with the axial age, Aries is starting to wane and Pisces is starting to come in. Eventually, in AD 70, the Jerusalem temple is destroyed by the Romans, and the age of animal sacrifice ends, and it's the beginning of prayer taking place in the heart. I remember when I was a child, I loved my parents' library. One of the important things in my parents' library was my dad's Siddur, my dad's liberal synagogue prayer book, which was called The Prayer, the Service of the Heart. So we move from the sacrificing of animals to the service of the heart. And it's the Buddha and the Upanishadic rishis and the Hebrew prophets who have pointed us to this, that the real sacrifice is awareness. One of the teachers that is very important in our lineage, and Sadananda's diligently reading all of his transcribed talks, is Upasani Maharaj, one of the perfect masters of Meher Baba, if you've heard of Meher Baba. He said that in the system of Dasavatara, or 10 avatars, which we have in Hinduism, the Buddha is the avatar of the age. So every religion to exist in this age has to be remade within the teachings of the Buddha. Every religion has to teach an inner path of awareness and self-inquiry. Any religion that doesn't bring us to awareness and self-inquiry fades away under the avatarship of the Buddha. So now time has flowed along. It's 2,000 years ago. It's the ending of the age of Aries and the beginning of the age of Pisces. Pisces is the two fishes swimming in opposite directions. There's a water sign. There's lots of feelings and emotion, but with these two fishes swimming in the opposite directions, there's a tremendous duality. So what happens at the start of the age of Pisces is the crucifixion of Christ. That is the perfect archetype for the age of Pisces, the one who sacrifices ourselves. And the symbol of Christ is the fish. Jesu, Christos, Theos, Hoios, Soto. Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior, spells ichthus, spells fish. We have gone from the symbol of the ram caught in the thicket to the symbol of the fish, sacrifice, a Savior who's martyred, who gives his life, who gives us his blood. And as we come into this water sign, we're starting to experience devotion. We're starting to experience a sense of personal relationship. And slowly, slowly, during the age of Pisces, we're starting to develop individual consciousness. And because we're developing individual consciousness, we can have a personal relationship with God. Well, another very interesting thing is happening here. We had the age of the Great Mother, the age of Taurus. We had the age of the Father, the age of Aries, where all the law books were laid down, where animals were sacrificed, where the gods lived in families. We've come to another masculine age, the age of the Sun. Jesus, the archetype of the age, is known as the Son of God. Reb Solomon said, and we've kind of got a glimpse when we talked about the axial age, the ages don't come and go like a train. It's not like the train arrives, you get on and it's all there. It's more of a wave formation. As one age is dying away, the next age is beginning to come in, and it slowly builds up. And the culmination of any age is around 1,000 years or so into it. Then it slowly begins to decline, and it becomes gradually less and less useful as we're heading to the next paradigm. So to understand what the age of Pisces has been at its peak, we think of the high Middle Ages, the age of faith, the age of devotion. I grew up as a teenager in East Anglia in England, and the devotion is made visible because every town has a beautiful church. And because of the ecology there, the churches are made of flint. And they've cut and polished every flint. And they make beautiful designs with the flint on the outside of the churches. And in the inside, everything's painted, everything's carved. And there are mighty spires. Remember, they didn't have architects or blueprints or engineers. Built on faith, built on devotion. These beautiful spires, these beautiful cathedrals, these beautiful churches. In India, the great temples are built. In Tibet, great monasteries. In China, too, great monasteries. This is an age of monasticism, of celibacy, of self-sacrifice. It's the age of the troubadours. It's the age of St. Francis, and it's the age of the bhakti poets, the devotional poets of India. It's an age of singing, writing poetry, and chanting the name of God. Because sacrifice in the age of Pisces, no longer a human, no longer an animal, the sacrifice of the word. And here it does become very intellectual, because to sacrifice words, you have to use exactly the right word. If you want to do a puja, you have to do exactly the right sacred words and gestures. But if you want to offer the holy sacrifice of the Mass, it has to be done exactly right with the exactly approved words. It is a very intellectual age, and there are many philosophical debates. Everyone's really going into philosophy. What is the nature of Christ? There were huge debates about this, and groups like the Nestorians being cast off as heretics because they didn't agree on the nature of Christ the way the church did. What exactly is emptiness? Is it emptiness or fullness? What is the self? There's so many debates, so much philosophy. But remember, we have the two fishes that are swimming in opposite directions. It's an age of duality, matter separated from spirit. That's the whole Gnostic thing. Matter, the flesh against the spirit. Matter is separated from spirit. God is separated from nature. There's heaven and hell. There's good and evil. There's light and dark. There's monks and lay people. Every possible kind of duality, division, and separation occurs under the sign of these two fishes who are swimming in opposite directions. So even at this beautiful time at the height of the Middle Ages, when the cathedrals and temples were being built, and the poet saints and the troubadours were making wonderful songs and poetry, even then there was this undercurrent of duality, of heaven and hell. And as we come into the death throes of the age of Pisces, we see the fanaticism, the fundamentalism, a black and white dualistic perspective taking over the world more and more and more every day, every year. In Kashmir, nuclear-armed Muslim fundamentalists facing off nuclear-armed Hindu fundamentalists. Hindu fundamentalists? This seems totally impossible. Ekam Sat, truth is one. The wise have called that by many names. This phrase from the Vedas is the actual creed of a Landi ashram filed with the IRS as the creed of our church. Truth is one, the wise have called that by many names. It's a day we see Hindu fundamentalists facing off against Muslim fundamentalists facing off against Jewish fundamentalists. There was never fundamentalism in Judaism. It was a sacred way of life free of any rigid beliefs. It was about how you live, orthopraxy. Although we use the word Orthodox Jews, they're actually orthoprax Jews. They do the right things. It's not about what you believe. You can be a Jewish atheist, a Jewish communist. You still belong to the Jewish people. We have Christian fundamentalists having crusades against Muslim fundamentalists. We're living in this lengthening shadow. More and more wars and clashes. But the new sun of a dawning age is rising. We can think about the things that have changed from when Sadananda and I were little. When I was young, I never imagined that one day I would be able to say my niece's wife. But I have a niece who has a wife. It's happened. I never thought I would be able to say his husband. But I have friends who are he's who have husbands now. A lot of things that have changed that we never thought. I never thought when I was little that I would see a Black president of the United States. Things have changed. Things have improved. The age of Aquarius is starting to creep in. When I was in medical school, when I was really young, there was this musical called Hair. And the top song was, "This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, age of Aquarius, Aquarius." This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius as we move astronomically and astrologically out of Pisces and into Aquarius. So how are we going to go in to the age of Aquarius? Are we going to do what we did 4,000 years ago? We're still suffering from our effects of the break with the mother. We could go into the age of Aquarius as, and it looks like we might be going to do this, the age of artificial intelligence and humanoid robots. There are these long-termists who think that human beings don't matter. What really matters is like billions of artificial intelligences like floating around the universe. Oh my goodness. It could be an age of science and technology when we have computers planted in our brain and our email injected into our bloodstream, uploading the information to our brain. We'll conquer the universe with human consciousness because we don't know that the universe has always been conscious without the need of us. I hope we don't go into the age of Aquarius this way. I hope we don't make a break. The age of Aquarius is the age of the daughter. Aquarius is the first of the 4 signs we've talked about that is a human sign, and she is a woman. She is the water carrier. She is a woman. She is the daughter. Now, this doesn't mean we're going to bring back matriarchy. That's not what daughters are like. The great thing about daughters is they love mommy and they love daddy. Right? That's the definition of a daughter, is they love their mommy and they love their daddy. So the age of Aquarius is not going to be about throwing men down, lowering men being bad, bringing back matriarchy. The age of Aquarius is the age of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The daughter loves her mother, her father, and her brother. It's not a feminist revenge. So for 4,000 years, we've had this tendency of the masculine to divide and separate and separate and separate. We've split cells into cell organelles with electron microscopes. We've split atoms into subatomic particles. We've split people into enzyme reactions. I really remember being told in medical school, man is a bag of enzymes. We Man is a bag of enzymes. I could interpret that to say Agni, a human being, as a sacred fire of transformation, but we are more than a bag of enzymes. So religions are split up into warring sects. Bombs have made of split atoms. The tribe is split into the extended family, which is split into the nuclear family, which is now split into the one-parent family. The daughter doesn't mind all this splitting. She looks around at this whole mess of all this splitting, and she says, wow, this is wonderful. Look at all these beautiful pieces you've made. I'm going to make a patchwork quilt. So she's going to stitch everything together. But a patchwork quilt is not kitchery. She's not going to put everything in a blender. She's not going to make a big kitchery merge of everything. When you make a patchwork quilt, you stitch everything together, honoring the distinction of each. We're not returning to the undifferentiated state. The great achievement of the age of Pisces, really expressed by Freud and Jung, depth psychology, by literature that have human heroes, novels, by film, all came in towards the end of the age of Pisces. We've attained individual consciousness. Can we, in the age of Aquarius, bring the individuals into something larger? Having become individual, can you become trans individual? Not meaning as transgender. I'm using this trans word in a different way. Once upon a time, the most important beings, the only beings, were the archaebacteria, and they were doing just what we're doing right now. They were breeding themselves to extinction and drowning in their own toxic waste. The great experiment of life was about to fail due to overpopulation and toxic waste until the archaebacteria got together and created a nucleated cell. To this day, the mitochondria and the cells of your body are those archaebacteria. They sacrificed themselves to create a nucleated cell. That was the greatest single leap in evolution, the creation of nucleated cells. Once we have nucleated cells, everything else can change. The nucleated cells come together to form multi-celled organisms like a jellyfish or a sponge. Then the simple multi-celled organisms come together to form multi-organ beings, like us, like your kitty cat, multi-celled organisms. Sorry, multi-organ beings. So we are multi-organ beings, and we are billions because the cell is the smallest unit of consciousness, and every cell in your body is an organized unit of consciousness. Yet, as a multi-cell, multi-organ being, we can still function as one being. So, to have an age of Aquarius at all, we have to decide not to jump into extinction by fighting each other and wars and toxins and endless growth and escalating climate change and all these things we're doing. We have to come together as one humanity, functioning in the service of the earth, in the service of the galaxy ultimately, but coming together on behalf of the earth. Or as the last time that our dear friend Swami Paramananda gave satsang to the students here at Landi Ayurveda Gurukula before he moved to India, the last words he said was, we have to expand our concept of the hive. because the bees in the hive support each other, but they will fight another hive to the death. So we have to expand our concept of the hive so that we can all support each other. So at the ending of the Age of Aries, the Jerusalem temple was destroyed. At the ending of the Age of Pisces occurred another cataclysm. We had World War II and we had the Holocaust. Some great event does occur to bring in each new age. The sacrifice ram that brought in the age of animal sacrifice, the crucified Savior and the destroyed temple that bring in the age of faith and devotion, the collective martyrdom of millions of Jews, gays, gypsies, and other fringe people, the collective sacrifice that has brought in the possibility of the age of Aquarius. And we can't go into the age of the collective by focusing on one person. That doesn't mean that Christ is irrelevant. It means that the teachings of Christ can finally become real. Because Jesus said, you worship on this mountain, he said to the Samaritan woman, we worship in Jerusalem, but the age is coming and now is when true worshippers will worship in spirit and truth. We're coming into the age of spirit and truth. I have said that we're using a Kabbalistic 4 ages model. The age of Taurus is the age of Asya. It's the age of the world of action, the age when we get our food security together. The age of Aries is the age of Yetzirah, the age of the relational world, where we create laws that govern the proper way to relate to each other. The age of Pisces is the age of Berea, the sacrifice of the word, the age of philosophy, the age of the conceptual world, and we are coming into the age of Atzilut, the age of the spiritual world, the age of spirit and truth. And what is the archetype of the coming age, the age of Aquarius? We said it is a woman carrying water. The archetype of the age of Aquarius is the mother of compassion. We've seen so many incarnations of the mother. Amritanandamayi, Karunamayi. They are embodying the archetype of the age. But there's also a very important story that I was told by one of my patients, and that patient subsequently died of breast cancer. So I've become the keeper of this story. I've looked all over the internet and books, and I've never been able to read this story. But my patient, who is German, said they lived in Eastern Germany, and they lived by a railway station where the cattle cars came in, bringing the Jews who were being transported to the death camps. And she said that every morning, her mother and all the other women of the town got together with every container they could find, every kind of bottle and jar they could find, and they rushed to the trains to get water to the thirsty people. And every day they were beaten back by the guards, and nursing their wounds, they came back the next day. And they did it again and again and again. And these ordinary German housewives were the true water carriers. And they really were an embodiment of the archetype of the age. So we're coming into the age of Aquarius. Let's not have it be the age of techno-humans. Let's have it be the age of the mother of compassion, as it can be, as is the archetype of the age. We have a choice. Let's make that choice. Let's choose to bring in the age of the mother of compassion. Let's choose to bring in the age of collective consciousness. Many individual consciousnesses coming together to form a greater whole a human community, a global community, a community of all beings. It's up to us to make it happen. Sadananda and I have cherished this vision all of our lives. The younger people, you have to carry this vision on and make the Age of Aquarius what it truly can be as the mother of compassion reawakens, as the mother reawakens with all her love, all her compassion, cherishing each and every one of her children.
Thank you for tuning in to Ayurveda and Spirituality with Alakananda Ma. We hope today's exploration has ignited a spark of curiosity and insight within you. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. For more enlightening discussions and practical wisdom on Ayurveda and spirituality, subscribe and join our Facebook group, Alundi Ayurveda. To allow us to continue sharing valuable content, consider donating to Alundi Ashram. The links will be in the show notes. Until next time, may you walk the path of Ayurveda with grace and embrace the light of spiritual wisdom in your journey.
Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivadanam urvarukamiva bandanam mrityormukshiyam